When you destined to be great, you do great things. When you destined to be great, you have patience. When you destined to be great, you sit back, you listen.
What's going on, man? It's your boy Monta. Known to many as the Monta. Better known as Rich Homie Monta. For those of y'all that don't know me, I want to introduce y'all into my life a little bit. Born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia in 1983. Not gonna really share the date, but 1983. Born to a single mother, Tracy Gibson, and a sister that later came along 22 months after me, Dee, which is my only sister. I was born and raised in Techwood Homes, where my mom resided in Jonesburg North Apartments, which is a set of apartments which are projects here in Atlanta, Georgia. It was rough for my mom, you know what I'm saying, having a kid, you know, at 20 years old, coming from poverty, suffering, you know what I'm saying, from being poor, you know, having to be in one bedroom apartment with 8 people living in there, and her having a kid. So at 13 years old, a lot of people don't understand that my mom started working and, you know, having me. I think I took on some of her natural hustle habits. So we would live in these projects. I'm one of them people that lived in multiple projects in the state of Georgia. And my mama was the Rolling Stone. I can't say my papa was the Rolling Stone because at birth, I didn't know who my father was, or my papa, or my daddy, whichever one we want to call it. You know, my dad was arrested a couple months after I was born and sentenced to a life sentence. So, you know, as a child, I didn't have that father in my life. And so I grew up kind of on the rough side of things, you know, which a lot of us young black men do with a single parent mom. My mom worked at Greater Hospital in the red zone. She would move us from school to school. We would just move from school to school. You know, so as a kid, I went to probably 4 or 5 different elementary schools until I landed a home in Clayton County. And I think it was GW Northcutt Elementary School, where I went there in the 5th grade, and then I went from there to North Clayton Middle School in Clayton County, where we was living in the 4th Ward. And I want to say the 4th Ward was one of them places to where I could adapt. You know, I adapted a little bit of my street mentality, you know, from there. Yeah, when I was in the projects when I was young, I seen things, but I think I gained a lot of my street mentality from being in the 4th Ward. At that point, I was able to run the streets with whoever I wanted to run it with. My mama was working 16 to 20 hours, you know what I'm saying, doubles and triple shifts trying to take care of me and my sister, you know what I mean, which left me to be that kid that, you know, not poor. We wasn't really poor at this point, but we didn't have much, you know what I'm saying, and my mom was doing anything she could to keep me, you know, afloat and keeping up with the Joneses, which was causing her to suffer, you know what I'm saying, financially, because her kid, she wanted to keep her kid that had ADD. She didn't know I had ADD at the time. I later learned that as an adult, you know what I'm saying. So as an adolescent, I would get into so many, like, I would just get into so much trouble, which landed me, you know, as a young teen working at Six Flags over Georgia, and actually catching one of my first cases and getting arrested. And that arrest put my mom in such a bind, you know what I mean, because I caught so many charges that people didn't know I really had. And I want to share that with y'all today. You know, I caught like 17 charges as a teenager, 3 which was felonies, and the others which were misdemeanors, which landed me to go scared straight, which landed me to be, you know, at McNair High School, a school that I can wear, which is my alma mater at this point, because I'm not from Decatur, but I graduated from a Decatur, you know, a school that's in Decatur. And I just want to share a brief story with y'all about McNair High School real quick and some of the people that I met along that way. And matter of fact, I'm gonna back up a little bit. In the projects, I adapted the love for the sport that most people know me for, baseball. I adapted that sport when I was 6 or 7 years old in John Hope and University Homes, where I was recruited to play in the Hank Aaron Rookie League, because I used to go to camp in Techwood, and I had this guy named Twan that would throw the ball at me real hard. I was like 6 or 7 years old, and I had a grown man, 18, 19-year-old, throwing 70, 80, 90-mile fastballs to me where I could catch it. So I became one of them catchers, you know what I'm saying, in the Hank Aaron Rickey League here in Georgia, and I was well known for my arm. So that was a path that I followed through my life that kind of helped guide me through my life. But through life, I would just get in trouble. I was that trouble kid that would just get in trouble, but I wasn't that terrible kid. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that I was going to jail every day, this and that. I was the sneaky leader, but follower. If y'all get what I'm saying? That led me, to be half of the person I am today. That also led me to relocate to McNair High School, where when I got to McNair High School, a lot of people didn't understand that I was on paper. And I wanted to play baseball. I played football. I played basketball. I swam. And leading from 8th grade to 9th grade, I was in the band in the 8th grade, which was just an elective that I had to take, but I never took it serious. I couldn't play the hell out of that instrument for nothing, y'all. And leading myself to that band, when I got to McNair High School, I was able to meet some of the people that I call my brothers today. Rashad Nash, Carlos Stevens, Keontae, Quentin Johnson. These guys is part of the reason that I am the man that I am today, coming from my background, meeting these guys that lived a different life that I lived. You know what I'm saying? And they helped mold me. Mr. Barry Alexander, shout out Mr. Barry Alexander. My voice gets trembled when I talk about what that man did for me, because when my counselors came to him to let him know that I was a troubled kid and I was being put in his class and I had to do these things, he took it with open arms and he adopted me as that kid that didn't have a father, that he seen something in. And I don't think he seen band in me. I think he seen the fact that I was a leader, a great leader. So my 10th grade year, I had Shannon, and I can't think of my other girl name, but she was a drum major, and she took to me as well, and she started, without his permission, allowing me to march with the drum majors. So it's almost like we was gonna force this. And I'll never forget Mr. Alexander coming to me saying, "What the hell y'all doing?" And needless to say, I ended up being a drum major at McNair High School for two and a half years as the head drum major, a person that didn't know much about music, but I learned everything about music. I learned how to direct music. I learned how to be the great leader that I am today. And I will forever be thankful for that, And I just want to tell the kids out there in the world, people say things are lame, but I always say the lame is the one with no brain. You know what I mean? Me coming from the streets, and I can truly say the streets at this point in my life, because I would go downtown and sell drugs. And a lot of the guys that I named, they didn't know that I was selling drugs in high school. And a little bit of history with that, my sister told my mom when I was 30 years old that people used to come to her in class, because a lot of people didn't know my sister went to school with me. They didn't know it was my sister, because we like Mud and Jeff. We day and night, you know what I'm saying? We complete opposite. And people would go in there and tell them, "Man, Monta got them big old dimes." And I never shared that with nobody, because I never ever wanted people to look at me as a guy that sold drugs. I always just wanted to be looked at as a stand-up guy, a guy that did what he had to do. And forever thankful for the people that allowed me to be in their corner, coming from the background that I come from. So I adapted the band, and I also thankful for Mr. Dion Williams that ran the baseball program at McNair High School, which brought me in, and it also helped me be the man, the coach, and the baseball player that I am today, because I had 10 years of coaching. Well, along this 10-year path, I was able to meet artists that I started to work with, the Quantis, which is better known as Rich Homie Quan, and I coached him from his 9th grade year to his senior year at McNair High School, where I coached at McNair for a total of 7.5 years, and then I later moved from McNair High School to Langston Hughes High School, where I was the head JV coach for 2 years. Preceding that, the music industry took me out of that, and later made me the executive that I am today. That's a little bit part about the history of my life, y'all. I just wanted to let y'all enter into my life a little bit. Period. Free of all contamination at its rawest form. Let me get into that for y'all people. Period is my brand. Period is who I am. Period is something that was created through a word that we all know to be something that just played around, that wasn't a part of most people's lives growing up. We wanted pure sugar. We heard of pure cocaine. We heard of everything being pure, but we never understood what the meaning of it was. So when I was like 13 or 14 years old, I had a brother. I would never call him a friend, named Benjamin, my partner, my ace. We grew up on Cleveland Avenue together, and we would use this word pure, to identify things when we finished talking, which would mean like that I understand what you just said, that's 100. And that's where it started from. And as I grew, when I linked back up with Ben, 2010, 2011, somewhere around that time, we were talking, we hugged, we had a couple of our loved ones with us that night. And when we finished talking, the word pure came back out again. So I was reintroduced to the word. As we left that at night, I said to myself, pure is something that I want most people to be. Pure is something that I have to grow to be. So I started tagging pure in my post on social media, on Instagram, in like 2010, I want to say, if I stand correctly. And in 2010, I started tagging it, but I wasn't saying it as much as I do now. I was tagging it because at that point, I wasn't raw as I wanted to be. And I wasn't free of all contamination. And as I grew and grew and grew, did the work, went to psychiatrists, went to psychologists, went to counseling, I began to know exactly who I was a little bit more. And I started to adapt the mentality, of feeling that I'm pure. A lot of people think pure means that you're a real individual. Well, it can mean that you are a real individual, but it doesn't mean that you are what we quote unquote call a real nigga. Because I stand before you today and tell you that I don't like real niggas. I don't like them. I really would love everybody in the confines of me to be pure. It was introduced to me from a very special, important person to me, Miss Mary Malcolm, my grandmother, who I keep real close to me. She always had a quote. She used to say, if you don't mess with me, don't bring me no food, don't bring me nothing, but always be on your best behavior. That's a quote that I had to go back recently and listen to because I had that naturally embedded in me. So I adapted this part of my life to where if you don't rock with me, don't rock with me. I don't want to get no money with you. I don't want to fake kick it with you. I don't want to do nothing with you to allow your negative energy into my space. Because somebody that don't rock with you, they don't rock with you. And a lot of people have to adapt that mentality here in their life. And that's one of the things that's in my peer community, we understand those type of things. So building this brand, I wanted to be able to have a conglomerate, which is a large organization of people that when they put my brand on their back, you can feel the energy. You feel enthused. You feel good about yourself. You feel the best that you felt. You know that you're rocking around. You know that you're walking around rocking something that makes you really feel warranted. It makes you feel that you are the best that you could be. And I created this brand to stand behind it, pure. And on top of pure, I put HUSLTER behind it. So in 2020, in the midst of COVID, I was one of the few people in the early beginnings of it to get COVID. And I went to the hospital in the area that I live in. And I was told that my saturation was declining, which means that I was suffering with this COVID real bad. I'm a person that panics. I'm a person at that particular time, suffer with anxiety real bad. I still have anxiety, but I know how to handle it because I became pure, I became raw. I became free of contamination and certain things that would get me excited and get me overbearing. I no longer get that way with things because I know how to handle myself and I know how to handle situations, any type of situation that's put in front of me. I went home and I had a list of things that I wanted to accomplish in my life over a 65-year lifespan. With my lifespan wanting to be 114 years old. I pray to God every day that I be 114 years old. So that particular day, the Pure brand was something that was on that list that I wanted to start letting go so that if I lost my life, I would have something to be able to follow behind my name other than it being Rich Homie Monta on social media or Monta to the people that knew me. I wanted my legacy to live way farther, so I created the company Pure Hustler, and I signed it over to my daughter, and I gifted a part of this business to my daughter, and I started making merch. This is some of my merch that I made today. And I started making that stuff, and the first day I put it out, I sold about 250 t-shirts and hoodies, well, t-shirts. And I later came a couple months later and I started selling the hoodies. And I got people now that rock the Pure brand that contact me and tell me, you know, hey, when I put this hoodie on, I just feel good. It makes me feel like a hustler. It allows me to know that I am a hustler. And that's something that I wanted to give to the community. Where I see Pure being in the near future to now, Pure is something that I want to see across the world. I want to see it in the high schools. I want to see it almost like the Beta Club. I want to have a club within all types of different organizations to where you have to be able to go through these stages of life, even as kids, to be able to be in this community. Not just you can pick it and say you want to do it. I want to see Pure as one of the biggest brands in the world, not just here in the United States. It symbolizes something that, you know, as many other brands do, something that you could be a part of, something that you can own, something that you can feel, something that you can wear. And not just from a fashionable side of things, but a fashion that you can really, you know, have a touch of your spirit with. So I try to make it not to where the price points are so high, but where it can be in Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth, Walmart. But the brand can be spread across, because, you know, nowadays you won't see a premium brand in Walmart, but I want my stuff to be sold everywhere, so that people that need that help, that people that can dig within themselves, they can go put a Pure shirt on. And if they were thinking about doing something to themselves tomorrow, they put this shirt on and it make them feel like they got something to live for, some value in life, and they have overcame certain things and obstacles in their life. So all my people out there, when you decide to find something in your life that you want to accommodate your time, tap in with this Pure Hustler brand, tap in with this Pure. And as I always say, Pure shit, no bullshit.